Hi and welcome to the video. I'm Dame and this is Dame Over, and this is Crossfire X, a completely new first-person shooter that's coming to the Xbox One. It's going to be an Xbox exclusive and the beta is free to play for absolutely everybody from June 25th through to June 28th. I jumped in and played for just under 2 hours today to give you guys a good idea of what to expect from it, whether you should bother playing the beta in the first place, and if you might be interested in the full game when it does actually release. But before we jump into that, there is a goal that I'm trying to make before lockdown officially finishes and everything sort of goes back to normal. I'm currently sat at 3.63k subscribers. I'd really love to get that up to 4,000, so if you guys aren't already subscribed, please do consider hitting that sub button. Right, let's get into it. So I'll talk you through every single aspect that I think is important. I'm going to try and give you the Cliff Notes version because it is a beta after all. What you can actually experience in-game is very limited, which is to be expected because there's going to be lots of new content coming to it once the game actually fully releases. So if any of you have seen any videos on Crossfire X before, you would have known that it's actually been available to play, the beta that is, for anyone that's on the Insider program on Xbox. But now it's free to play for everybody, so we'll all get a chance at it. It is absolutely free to download as well, so if you're interested at all, it's not going to cost you any money. But another thing to note, which I think is very, very important, not only is the beta absolutely free to play, the multiplayer of Crossfire X is going to also be free to play as well. Now, I've done a little digging because I hadn't actually heard of Crossfire before, Crossfire X or any other thing to do with it. It turns out Crossfire is an old game which is very similar to something like CSGO. It's an old tactical shooter that is actually very, very popular in Asian markets. So Crossfire X coming to console, at least to Xbox One to begin with, is an attempt to try and branch out a bit and get some more players involved. The original Crossfire was a PC only game and runs on very low specs. That was kind of the idea behind it, so it was available to almost anyone, which is a huge part to its success. But I'm sure I'm not the only one here who has never heard of Crossfire at all. There is going to be a single player campaign as well as the multiplayer available, but two different development studios are actually making those different segments of the game. Segments? It's not an orange. But anyway, the point being, your gaming experience won't just be limited to the multiplayer. So while I'm talking about it, let's have a look at some of the game modes you can expect to see. So there is the traditional CSGO kind of style game mode. It's search and destroy, one team attacking, one team defending, and the attacking team has a box of C4 to go to one of the two different objectives to try and detonate the bomb. Very reminiscent of Valorant, so if you guys have played that at all on PC, this might be of interest to you. And similarly to that as well, and to CSGO, you cannot aim down sights when you're playing on these classic game modes. There's no sprint ability either, and from what I experienced here, and I'm sure you guys that have played CSGO and Valorant before would absolutely tell me this is true for those as well, sound whoring is the most efficient way to work out where the enemy is. Crouching removes any sound your footsteps are going to make. Slow walking also removes the sound almost entirely, but you still can be heard. And just like in CSGO and Valorant, you're rewarded for being still when you're shooting your weapons. Speaking of which, let's have a quick look at the armory. So if you do actually get onto the beta between June 25th and 28th, you'll be rewarded with a special melee weapon, which will also be available on the full release of the game if you do choose to buy it. There's this big, really cool axe thing. Other than that, we've kind of got the usual suspects as far as modern shooters go. You've got the Galil, the Lewis gun even, which, I mean, playing Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 1, that's something I'm very interested in. The M4A1, a sniper rifle, the AWD. I'll leave it up on the screen so you guys can see a list of the weapons. And also your secondaries, you've got a classic Deagle and a 3-burst firing Glock. Again, I'm assuming it's just a beta, so there's going to be more weapons available, more customizations, hopefully, because you can choose from a short zoom and long zoom scope when you're playing on the modern game modes rather than the classic. But looking at the game's base model at the moment, it kind of looks like that's as much as you're going to get out of the customization. Maybe some other attachments. I don't know if it's going to go down the sort of COD route where you'll be able to get extra bullets in your magazine, a different sort of barrel suppressor, blah, blah, blah. So the map design is very simple. There are obvious lanes to take, obvious flanking routes, and obvious vantage points. So just like in other tactical shooters, map knowledge is absolutely key. And as you might imagine, a sniper rifle is a very, very powerful weapon to have as long as you can hit your shots. And I don't know if I mentioned before, if you die, then you're dead for the entire round. And the same goes for the next game type, which is called Spectre. And then this one, I had a lot more fun playing, to be perfectly honest. It's a similar sort of setup. One team is attacking, one defending, and the attacking team is trying to plant a bomb. But there is a twist on this one. The attacking team can only use melee weapons, and they are entirely cloaked. So you'll be able to see from this footage when you're moving, you are actually able to be seen. There's a sort of shimmery outline of a human body running at you with an axe or a knife. But if if you do remain entirely still for a second or two, you will go completely invisible, and unless someone bumps into you and realizes that they've done it, you won't be able to get found out at all. There is, however, quite a lot of noise that comes from the breathing apparatus that you're wearing within this invisibility suit kind of thing, so make sure you're aware of that. Again, sound whoring, very, very important in this game mode as well. And there are two different ways to use your melee weapon. You've got a quick attack and a slower attack, which is more powerful, and it's a one-shot kill, as you can see from some of these clips. And while this game was really fun, it was a bit of a novelty for me, I don't really think it's got much longevity to it. There's not really much of a skill ceiling, thanks to the very limited movement mechanics, so if you're going to play this game mode, I think just approach it from terms of having fun. It's kind of a good warm-up, I think, for the regular game mode, for the classic search and destroy game mode, because you can get your aim in and your reaction times can get a bit honed. It's more of a practice arena as far as I'm concerned, but it's similar to something like Halo 3 Infected, where you get swarmed at by some of the enemies. So that's it for the classic playlist. Now on to the modern one. So this is more like your regular modern first-person shooter. This is where I think most of you guys that watch this video are going to be more comfortable. The gameplay mechanics and the game cycle are very, very similar to something like Call of Duty or Battlefield, but there are a couple of unique mechanics that you need to be aware of. In terms of the beta, you're on this one singular map, as you can see from this little intro, which I think is really cool to add into the game. You're fighting over two objectives to begin with, and when one team reaches a certain amount of points, it then shoves you all outside by blowing up the building that you're standing in. You can jump on one of these zip lines and push outside to try and capture the C flag, which is the only one that will be contested for the last sort of third of the game. So this game is going to appeal to you guys that are far more used to sprinting and aiming down sight, because you can do both of those in this game mode. And there's also the tactical growth mechanic. Now, I'm not actually sure, and I still couldn't really figure out when this actually kicks in. I think it's after a certain amount of points are accrued through the game, or you get a certain amount of kills. You can bring up this radial wheel and choose to enhance your gameplay in some way. You can either make your attacks more powerful, you can increase movement speed, or there's the defensive option of using a riot shield, making you far more difficult to take out unless someone can get a decent flank on you or is particularly good at landing headshots. Now, this game mode was pretty decent. I did quite well in each of the games I played on it, but it's because it was very reminiscent of old Call of Duty games, which is sort of my wheelhouse. Black Ops 1 is kind of what you expect with this game. It's very easy to spawn camp people. If you can find the power positions and hold them and your aim is half decent, unless someone comes at you with a sniper rifle from distance and manages to take you out, you're going to do very, very well. It's all about positioning and making sure you get the shot in first when you're fighting an opponent. So that kind of wraps up what you need to know about the different game types and how they work. But I think something that is very important is the gunplay. Now, it's not fantastic. As far as the classic game modes go, the tactical shooter kind of side of it, I think it does fit into that kind of category very, very well. But as far as the modern game types go, I'm not really sure how the different sorts of recoil and damage are going to affect the game very much. I think the meta is going to become very, very clear, and if you're decent with the sniper rifle, I think you're going to absolutely dominate. That being said, the gunplay is very, very easy to pick up. Those of you guys that have been following my channel because of Battlefield 5, you'll feel very much at home here. And there's no need to worry about extra pieces of equipment or abilities or anything like that. It's boots on the ground and shooting people. A very simplistic way to play. And honestly, I think it does all of those things quite well. In my opinion, I don't really have many complaints. Crossfire X doesn't look like it's trying to be anything else. It's not like a copy of Call of Duty or a copy of Battlefield or Halo or anything like that. The only thing I really think it's similar to is CSGO, and since there's not really anything on console that comes close to that at the moment, at least that's high profile, I think Crossfire X will appeal to lots of people that are interested in CSGO and Valorant, for instance. What I'd really like to see on the full release of the game is some sort of progression system. Now, there is one in-game already. Now, you can enhance your abilities, so being a high level will give you an advantage over anyone that's new to the game. As you can see on the screen, there's loads of different ways you can adjust the way that you play. But what I mean by the progression system is aiming towards some sort of reward. I'd like it if not all of the guns were available at once, you had to level up to get there. If there are different attachments you had to unlock, similarly to something like Modern Warfare or Warzone, you have to level up those weapons as well to reach that target. Just something to get the player base interested and giving them a reason and a direction to go in when they're playing. But like I said, I've got no complaints. Crossfire X does exactly what it says on the tin. It's very simple. It's very to the point. I think it's definitely worth a look at while it's in beta, and especially because the multiplayer is free, you're not going to miss out on anything apart from a little bit of time and maybe a little bit of fun when you're sneaking up behind some people, hitting them in the back of the head with an axe. But those are just my thoughts on Crossfire X. Have any of you guys played Crossfire before, the original, or have you played Crossfire X since it's been out in the beta? I want to know what you guys think about it. Make sure you let me know down in the comments below. And here are my Dame operatives, those of you guys choosing to support the channel through Patreon. If you want to end up on this screen as well at the end of every video, then you can find the link in the description to the Patreon page and also in the pinned comment. So if you had a good time on this video, make sure you hit the like button. If you didn't, you can hit the dislike button as well. Don't forget to sub, don't forget the bell button as well, and until next time, that's Dame over. Peace.